November 24th, 1971. A quiet man in a black suit walked into an airport in Portland, Oregon, and bought a one-way ticket under the name Dan Cooper. A few hours later, he would hijack an airplane, collect $200,000 in ransom, jump into the night with a parachute, and disappear forever. More than 50 years later, nobody knows who he really was. This is the story of D.B. Cooper, the greatest unsolved mystery in aviation history. It was the day before Thanksgiving at Portland International Airport. A middle-aged man approached the Northwest Orient Airlines counter. He was calm, polite, and completely ordinary. He purchased a ticket for Flight 305 to Seattle. The ticket cost only $20. He identified himself as Dan Cooper. Witnesses later described him as being in his mid-40s, around 6 feet tall, wearing a dark business suit, a white shirt, a black tie, and a raincoat. Nothing about him seemed suspicious. Nobody at the airport knew that history was about to be made. After boarding the Boeing 727, Cooper took seat 18C, near the back of the aircraft. The plane took off shortly after 2:50 in the afternoon, with 36 passengers and 6 crew members on board. The flight to Seattle was expected to take less than an hour, but it would become one of the most famous flights in American history. Shortly after takeoff, Cooper ordered a bourbon and soda. Then, he handed a folded note to a flight attendant named Florence Schaffner. At first, she assumed it was just another phone number from a passenger trying to flirt. She placed it in her purse without reading it. Cooper leaned closer and quietly said, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." Shocked, Schaffner opened the paper. The message was simple and terrifying. Cooper claimed that he had a bomb in his briefcase and wanted her to sit beside him when she did. Cooper opened his briefcase just enough to reveal what appeared to be 8 red cylinders connected to wires and a battery. Whether it was a real bomb remains unknown. But at that moment, everyone believed it was real, and Cooper was completely calm. There was no shouting, no panic, no threats, only a man speaking in a quiet voice, making impossible demands. He wanted $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck waiting in Seattle if his demands were met. Nobody would be harmed. The pilots informed air traffic control. The FBI was immediately contacted. As Flight 305 circled in the sky above Seattle, authorities rushed to gather the money in parachutes. The passengers had no idea what was happening. Many believed the delay was caused by minor technical issues. Meanwhile, Cooper sat peacefully in his seat, smoking cigarettes and drinking bourbon. Witnesses later described him as surprisingly polite. He even paid for his drink. By 5:39 in the evening, the aircraft finally landed in Seattle. The passengers were released safely. In exchange, Cooper received $200,000 in cash. The money consisted of 10,000 $20 bills, and every serial number had been carefully recorded by the FBI. He also received 4 parachutes. Nobody understood why he wanted 4. Some investigators believed it was a clever trick. If he requested only 1 parachute, authorities might give him a defective one. By asking for 4, he created the impression that he might take hostages with him, forcing officials to provide functional equipment. Once the passengers left, only the flight crew remained on board. and the most dangerous part of the journey was about to begin. Cooper now had everything he wanted, but he wasn't finished. He instructed the pilots to take off again. This time, his destination was Mexico City. However, Cooper had very specific demands. The aircraft had to fly at a low altitude of 10,000 feet. It had to remain below 200 knots in speed. The landing gear had to stay partially deployed. And most importantly, the rear staircase of the Boeing 727 had to remain operational. This particular aircraft was unique. Unlike modern passenger planes, it had a staircase at the back that could be lowered during flight, a feature that would soon become legendary. At around 7:40 in the evening, the plane left Seattle. Only 4 crew members and Cooper remained on board. Outside, heavy rain covered the Pacific Northwest. Strong winds shook the aircraft, and darkness filled the sky. Nobody knew exactly what Cooper was planning, but everyone suspected the same thing. He intended to jump. Shortly after takeoff, Cooper ordered the flight attendants into the cockpit. He wanted to be completely alone. At approximately 8 o'clock, a warning light inside the cockpit indicated that the rear staircase had been lowered. A few minutes later, the crew felt a sudden upward movement in the aircraft. Something had changed. The captain immediately knew what it probably meant. D.B. Cooper had jumped somewhere over the forests of Washington State in the middle of a storm at night. Carrying $200,000 in cash, when the aircraft finally landed in Reno, Nevada, Cooper was gone. The money was gone, and one of the greatest mysteries in American history had just begun. The FBI launched one of the largest investigations in its history. The case was given the code name NORJAC, short for Northwest Hijacking. Hundreds of agents searched the forests, rivers, and mountains of the Pacific Northwest. Military aircraft scanned the area from above. Investigators interviewed thousands of people, and over the decades, more than 800 suspects would be examined. Yet, no trace of Cooper was ever found. The parachute he used disappeared. His body was never discovered, and the $200,000 simply vanished. Many investigators believed that Cooper probably died during the jump. The weather conditions were terrible. He jumped into unknown terrain, and he wasn't wearing proper equipment for survival. But others disagreed. They believed Cooper was highly experienced, perhaps a former military paratrooper, or someone with aviation knowledge. After all, he seemed to know details about the Boeing 727 that very few people understood. Could he have planned everything perfectly, or was it simply luck? Nobody knew. For years, the investigation produced almost nothing. Then, in 1980, something unbelievable happened. A young boy named Brian Ingram was playing near the Columbia River with his family. While digging in the sand, he discovered several bundles of decaying $20 bills. The serial numbers matched the ransom money given to D.B. Cooper. Nearly $6,000 had been found, but this discovery created even more questions. How did the money end up there? Why was only a small portion discovered, and where was the rest? To this day, the majority of the ransom money has never been recovered. Over the years, many suspects emerged. One of the most famous was Richard Floyd McCoy, a former Green Beret who carried out a remarkably similar hijacking only months later. However, investigators eventually ruled him out. Another suspect was Kenneth Christensen, a former airline employee with military experience. Some believed he had the knowledge and skills necessary to pull off the crime. Yet, no definitive evidence ever connected him to the hijacking. Perhaps the most controversial suspect was Robert Rackstraw. His military background and mysterious past attracted enormous attention. Some investigators strongly believed he was Cooper. Others completely rejected the theory. In the end, no suspect was ever officially identified, and the true identity of D.B. Cooper remains unknown. In 2016, after 45 years of investigation, the FBI officially closed the case. Resources would no longer be dedicated to solving the mystery. The case remained unsolved. Today, D.B. Cooper has become something larger than a criminal. He has become a legend. Books, documentaries, films, and endless theories continue to keep his story alive. Some believe he survived and lived the rest of his life in secret. Others think he died the moment he jumped into that stormy night. But perhaps the most fascinating part of the story is this. In an age where almost everything leaves a digital footprint, one man simply disappeared. No confirmed identity, no body, no confession. Nothing. Just a name that probably wasn't even real. D.B. Cooper, the man who hijacked a plane and vanished forever. What do you think happened to D.B. Cooper? Did he survive the jump and escape with the money? Or did the forests of the Pacific Northwest keep his secrets forever? Let us know your theory in the comments below. And if you enjoy mysteries, true crime, and dark investigations, don't forget to subscribe to Chronicle Dark for more stories that history still cannot explain. Thanks for watching.